Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today we are starting a new birth month series on my channel. I love birthstones and gemstones in general. I think they're just so beautiful, and you know that in my previous birth month series I would share a couple of polishes that were inspired by each month's birthstone. So I wanted to do like a more focused, dedicated series for this year. As I'm sure you all know, Aquamarine is the primary birthstone for the month of March, so I have a few Aquamarine inspired polishes to share, but I do also have a couple of picks for March's secondary birthstone, which is called Bloodstone. I will talk a little bit more about that later though. For now, let me just show you the swatches. So when I think of Aquamarine, I immediately think of the lightest, iciest blues. So one of the best shades to represent that from my collection is ILNP's Elsa. Wintry associations aside, I feel like the shade is just such a perfect match. It's definitely very silvery on the first coat though, so I would recommend doing 2 coats or maybe even 3 because that'll build up more of that blue color. There's also this added blue shimmer in here as well. It's more obvious when you see this polish in kind of extreme lighting. Unfortunately, I feel like this is one of those shades that just doesn't translate well on camera. Like, it just looks very silvery. Maybe it's my kind of bluish gray background, but this does have a beautiful icy blue color that I think is just such a great match for this birthstone. I also had to include Holo Taco's Happily Ever Aqua from their Birthstone collection. This was a no-brainer. I love when brands do Birthstone collections. Even if sometimes they can be a little repetitive, it's still just nice to see each brand's interpretations of the Birthstones, and I think Holo Taco did such a great job with this one. It's another icy aqua, but this time in a linear holo formula with a little bit more color and vibrancy to the base, so it's a lot more noticeably blue. Next I have Cupcake Polish's Dream, which is quite an oldie for my collection, but it is this super gorgeous light blue micro glitter formula. As expected, I am going to be sharing a lot of very similar colors, so I figured I could include some information about Aquamarine. So the name is Latin for seawater, so ancient mariners thought it would calm the waves and keep sailors safe at sea. That definitely makes sense to me, but growing up in New Jersey, I cannot imagine ocean waters looking this beautiful. Aquamarine obviously comes in these lighter shades of aqua blue, but there are some that are more vibrant in color or even have inclusions of other crystals which can affect its color too. Here I have Cirque Colors Aqua Jelly, which has the perfect name, even if the color is a little intense, maybe more of like a true sky blue. Obviously on the nail, because it's a jelly, it comes across more sheer, more buildable. So I think this would be such a perfect polish to try to do aquamarine nail art, which I know I mentioned doing that last month with Amethyst, and I never got around to it, so let me know if you still would want to see that. But jelly polishes are just so perfect for creating any kind of gemstone nail art. I think I would use this one with linen, which is their milky white, to lighten it up a bit. I did also want to feature Mooncat's Acidwashed, which unfortunately is one of their dearly departed shades. This is another really light aqua jelly base, but this one is already packed with these iridescent flakies, so if nail art isn't your thing, you can definitely layer some flakies to give it this beautiful crystalline effect. Similar to the last polish, it definitely can build up in intensity, which I think is really fun because, like I mentioned, Aquamarine can come in different levels or hues of blue. So if you want something super pale, you can just leave it in one coat. I personally am a fan of any kind of aquamarine that has a little bit of green in it, and so I had to include Starrily's Polar Lights from their most recent Northern Lights collection. This polish is so breathtaking. I was just blown away by how bright and gorgeous this was. It is a magnetic, but I'm actually showing this unmagnetized so you can see that intense greenish aqua shimmer. It is just super twinkly to me, and I thought it looked really great velvet too. I think maybe that looks a little bit more like a crystal than with a cat eye effect. So like I mentioned before, Aquamarine can sort of be infused with another crystal. There's one in particular that I'm thinking of where I saw this photo on Instagram years ago and had it saved, where it's this massive chunk of Aquamarine, but the core is Morganite. So I immediately thought of Holo Taco's Moon Lagoon to represent that. While Morganite isn't a birthstone, I still absolutely love that crystal or gemstone because it's just this soft peachy pink kind of color that harmonizes so beautifully with the lighter aqua shade. So like I mentioned in the intro, March has two birthstones, the second being Bloodstone, which I think is actually becoming more popular since it's the more modern one. It usually comes in this deep green color that's speckled with red flecks, which is obviously what inspired the name. I don't have a polish that combines those two elements, so I figured I could focus on the green bases. The first polish that I have here is Cirque Colors Verdigris Jelly. It's this really gorgeous dark shade of green that definitely has a strong blue or teal sort of undertone, which personally I can see in some Bloodstone. So like I mentioned before with Aqua Jelly, I feel like just having a jelly polish is so perfect to try to recreate the Bloodstone. So I think for this, I would sort of try to do a marble effect with a red. Another shade I immediately thought of was Night Owl Lacquer's Mischief, which is this super dark, rich, pigmented cream that I feel like, again, leans very green but with a strong blue undertone. Unfortunately, here it's looking so dark where it's almost black, but you can definitely tell that it's that super dark greenish teal, which I think is the perfect base for something like Holo Taco's Red Flake Taco. But if you want an option that's not as teal, I would highly recommend Loud Lacquer's Office in the Trees, which is this super dark and rich pine green. Bloodstone symbolizes things like vitality and transformation, along with new beginnings, which makes it a great birthstone as we welcome spring in March. So that wraps up my best birthstone polishes for March. As always, I would love to know what you think of my picks for the Aquamarine shades or the Bloodstone shades, especially if you are born in March. I always grew up loving Aquamarine because it's my mom's birthstone. I think it's just such a beautiful, soothing kind of shade of blue. I do think Bloodstone is also really cool though. I remember first learning about that probably back in college when I was like really into meditation and using crystals. So I have a little tumbled piece and even a mala that's partly made up of Bloodstone. And I know that a lot of people, are not into the like woo-woo aspect of crystals. I admittedly am not like that anymore, but I do still love the crystals that I have. They still mean a lot to me because of just what they helped me get through at the time. And if anything, I still love just thinking about what they symbolize and sort of channeling that energy as I'm meditating. So even though I didn't have a polish that perfectly captured the Bloodstone vibes, at least I don't have one anymore, because you might remember from my birth month series last year that I had shared Mooncat's Velociraptor for my Bloodstone polish, but I have destashed that one since then. It's just one of those shades that I didn't end up really wearing, but it was always one that I just wanted to keep in the back of my mind because I knew it would be perfect for this type of video. So it is a little funny to think of how annoyed I am at like not having this polish, because it would have been so perfect in my opinion. But again, I hope that you enjoyed the picks that I have. If you did, make sure to like the video and let me know any and all thoughts that you have down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!